Hello, everyone that is watching this or listening to this. We've got another episode of the Affinity Member Hot Seat, and today I am joined by a member and actually a good friend and someone that I've crossed paths with like as of the last few years, but many years ago we've known each other actually. His name is Krish. I'm gonna hand it over to him. He's done tremendously so far on this journey. But yeah, Krish, welcome. And yeah, to anyone that's listening or watching, could you just give us a little bit of an intro into yourself?
How are we doing, Nick? You're right. Thanks for having me on the call today. My name's Krish. I am a full-time father, husband. Um, I, in terms of work, I work in the corporate field. I'm also a DJ as well. And you know, I just wanted to lose some weight and fix my life up basically. And Nick's been the main man to make that happen. Me and Nick go way back actually, from when he first wanted to start learning music and stuff. And here we are, we're doing a full circle basically. So it's an amazing journey.
Yeah, it is an amazing journey. This was back in my teens that I met you and your brother, obviously, and we did some music tuition and lessons and things like that. And then I think
Hmm.
over the years we would bump into each other at random places. I think I might have bumped into you in Harrow a few times, maybe in Brent Cross or something like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
then eventually we crossed paths when I was actually holding an event for our affinity members locally in Harrow. And you were the DJ that evening. That's where you sort of do your resident DJing week on week, or you were at that time anyway. And
yeah.
then it kind of just came into conversation like, what are you doing? This is something that I'm interested in. I really need to get a hold of that. And I really want to fix up. I guess my next question to you would be then, what led to that moment? What led to that moment of like, from someone that maybe didn't want help, was trying to figure it out by themselves. What led to that moment of saying, actually, you know what? It's about time that I get some guidance from someone.
It's life. Like, when life takes over sometimes, right? Or a lot of the time. When the kids come along, um, lifestyle changes, career changes, and so on and so forth. Every element comes with its sacrifice, right? Not having time to train, not having time to go, just for a walk, not eating properly. I mean, when you look at it realistically, right, there's plenty of time for all of it. It's your age also dictates what happens to you in that time, right? So up to about 21, 22, right, you're just not putting on any weight. You can eat what you want, you can drink what you want, you can pretty much do whatever you like up to that space. And then after that, if you're not looking after your health, you're not eating properly, you're not, sort of if you can avoid certain situations, the weight starts piling on, right? And then comes the life of having children and again moving up the career ladder and so on and so forth. The busier that gets, the more you want to change your lifestyle and you're looking for those quick, easy comfort foods and those sort of easy rewards where you say, oh, let's just go and have a big meal or let's go and have a few drinks and it just piles up. And for me personally, also like work took over a lot. I was traveling a lot for work. And again, you're on off a flight, you're just eating whatever, you're drinking whatever, you've got social evenings, you got this, you got that, you're just grab and go kind of situations. So there was that. I saw the impact that it was having on me, my mood, my general, physique. I put on tons of weight that I rather would not have, to be fair. But and I fell off the radar for a bit, didn't I? Right? Let's just be clear about that. I had to stop because I couldn't handle everything in one go. So that decision came more in January this year, right? Where I said, right, Nick, I'm not messing about. It's all or nothing, right? I need to get onto this and I need to lose some weight. I was 110 kilos.
Yeah.
And, I made a promise to you that I'm going to stick to this and I'm not going to mess it up, right? And you guys have been instrumental in making sure that that's been 100%. The support has been amazing. The general sort of work around lifestyle, which is the hardest part. Um, and the training programs are seamless in my opinion, right? They're not breaking my back on a daily basis. That I'm not waking up feeling like I've had a fight with someone. Um, and it's just that accountability. It's just someone staying on top of you and just making sure that you're doing the right thing at the right time. As basic as that sounds, it's actually a game changer because you get to a certain age, no one can really hold you accountable apart from yourself,
Yeah,
right? It's as simple as that. So
absolutely, man.
yeah, this is where we are. It's an amazing journey, and I'm glad I'm on it.
Yeah, it's such an underrated tool, the accountability side of this. Because I've noticed a shift in the years that I've been doing this now. When I first started doing this around about 7 or 8 years ago, I think we were at a kind of stage in the fitness industry and just with everyone that was sort of slowly getting into health and fitness where information was the problem. People really didn't know where to focus their energy and what to do. Now, over the last few years, I believe that everyone has access to the same standard of information just because of the internet, the world, AI, all of that. So information is no longer the issue. What I'm finding is the problem with a lot of people is they have this abundance of information, which I believe you did as well. Like you knew all
Yeah,
of the right things to do. You got a great background in training and you were once very, very fit and healthy. You know all the ins and outs of what good looks like and what not so good looks like. But the gap is actually then taking that information and implementing it. And I believe that's where the accountability element comes in, right? It's like, cool, Krish, you know that we need to do X, Y, Z. This is how it's going to fit into your life. Now go off and do it, sort of thing. And that's essentially what's allowed you to get the result, right?
yeah, yeah, 100%. It's again, it comes to, and the honesty behind this is that as humans, we only take action as, when we see the problem, right? If I could wind back the clock now, I would have said, Nick, I want to be consistently good from a certain point and just maintain this weight, maintain my training, my food, and so on and so forth. But for someone that has worked in entertainment business, that's works in the corporate world, you know, it's just having the bite-sized platform that you can create. Do you see what I'm saying? Right? There's a difference between spending 2 hours in the gym and kind of, being able to spare that kind of time to a 1 hour workout, knowing how many calories you need to hit in a day. How, working out. There are certain things that would have never come to mind
Yeah.
if I didn't know what you guys were actually doing, which is do more than 10,000 steps. Don't running is better, walking is better than running
Yeah.
when it comes to weight loss. Who knew, right?
Yeah.
Everyone assumes that you go for a run and you're automatically losing weight. You're not,
Yeah.
right? It's things like that. And I'm doing exercises in the gym that I've never even heard of, right? I'm doing
Yeah.
things that. So what you've got is you've got a comprehensive training program that is tailor-made to what you're trying to achieve. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to achieve based on what we've discussed in the past. It's working clearly, right? I started off at 110 kilos and I'm not losing crazy muscle mass, but
No.
I'm now down at 80. I'm at 85 kilos now, right? So clearly what you guys are doing is outstanding, right? The work that you guys have put together to put all of this together is making that difference, basically. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent, man. So yeah, just on that, man, can we dive into sort of just allowing the listener or someone who's watching this just to get a idea from your words, sort of what has been the result to date? How much have you lost? What are your clothes sizes now? How do you feel both physically and mentally? And what have the outcomes been of this program so far? If you could just articulate that for us.
Yeah. So I think we started recording at 108 kilos. But my original weight before I actually started recording properly was 110, right? I'm 85.1 today,
So 25 kilos down, basically.
25 kilos, right? It's a significant amount of weight, right? Um, that is groundbreaking in my personal opinion. How do I feel? I feel outstanding. I am outrunning my 5-year-old at the moment, right? I am on top of everything in how I need to be. I don't wake up feeling lethargic, right? I don't feel like, oh, that feeling like I need to do this, I need to do that, oh, I need to get to that. I'm out there, I'm running around playing football, I'm, taking my little man to where I need to go. I find it easier to uphold tasks, right? General day-to-day tasks. I'm talking about, believe it or not, it actually helps you as the weight drops and as your mind frame changes, and your habits change, which is very important, right? Um, you want to meal prep, you want to do this, you want to do that. That would be the day in the life of how I now want to live. I'm thinking 2, 3, 4 days ahead of, okay, cool. Like, are we going to be eating properly? Am I going to be drinking the right amount of water? Perfect scenario as we have today. I'm going on holiday, right? Um, what does the next 7 days look like? Like what happens is your mind frame changes into stop binge scrolling on social media platforms, right? Get up and actually go and do something, right? I know this sounds very, very sort of day to day, but pick up a book, do something productive with your life, right? And it drives you further into that. The less junk food you eat, I don't eat anymore. I don't eat junk food at all anymore, right? And because I'm on this program, I've completely cut alcohol out, for the foreseeable future. And other habits that I'd rather not, obviously go into. But there's that, right? There's those situations where, it changes every single thing that you do in your day. It changes your mood. It changes how you're dealing with your family,
Yeah.
right? You don't get pissed off at the smallest stuff, right? When you've got those high sugar contents, when you're carved up, when you're hungover, when you're just not in a good space and you've had a big night out, you've eaten loads of shit on the way home, and you're doing that on a routine level, right? You're waking up groggy, you're waking up in a bad mood, you're not sleeping properly because you've got a young family, and so on and so forth. Again, I'm waking up before my little man now. I'm out for a
So good,
walk.
yeah. You're
Right.
out already,
So
yeah.
this is what routine looks like. Right. On a Sunday, I'm meal prepping for the whole week. My fridge is already full and ready for what I'm going to be eating. I'm screenshotting every single meal and sending it to you guys and letting you know where my calories are, what I'm eating, when I'm eating it. One big thing that I would like to highlight is that if you're in a relationship and you have a partner that aligns with what you're doing, that changes everything. That literally changes the entire mode of what you guys are doing in your own home, right? If you're single, I mean, it should be a lot easier, right? Because it's you on your own, right? But if the other person in the house is just kind of going, I'm going to order a pizza tonight, the temptations are around you, right? So peer pressure also, this is one thing that I would like to say. Given the industries that I'm in and so on and so forth, like there is that, oh, just have a drink, man, you'll be fine. Come on, oh, we're going for a kebab afterwards. Or, oh, let's order a butter chicken, right? Or let's order another mixed grill, right? Or whatever. No, absolutely not. I've had to train myself in my head and be that unsociable guy with a glass of tap water in front of me, right? And it sucks, right? It royal level sucks, right? But do it because then you can drop 25 kilos in a certain amount of time, right?
It's so good that you say that because actually the expectation within the program is that you don't have to go to those extremes. But I always appreciate when people do that. Um, Taking a step back, was there a fear of initially being that guy, like the guy that's like quote unquote the boring one that's not going to have the extra drink, that's not going to order and eat with everyone else? Like, is that what was stopping you from doing it before? There was a fear of like not being involved or not being part of the group, essentially.
It's part of it for
Yeah.
sure. It's a big, big chunk of it because I think the one of the biggest fears in life is not being accepted
Yes.
for what the essentially what the tribe is doing, right? So what we have is we you just got to stay strong. You just got to turn around and say no, right? And there's easy ways of going about this. Don't catch a cab. Just drive. Go drive to where you need to go to. Find imagine you're looking for an excuse in your head for the right reasons, right? Before you were looking for an excuse for the wrong reasons, right?
Yeah.
Now you're looking for an excuse for the right reasons, right? So take your car, right? Leave a little bit earlier than everyone else, right? Get there a little bit later than everyone else, right? Do things that align with what you're trying to achieve rather than going, oh, I better get there early because they're going to have welcome drinks or they're going to do
Yeah.
this or they're going to do that.
But I feel
Just,
like if I was speaking to Krish 2 or 3 years ago, and even sort of like floating the idea of take your car, leave early, or say no to the next drink, that would have been like you would have potentially back then maybe put up a barrier and said, "Oh no, I can't do that. Like that's not
no,
possible."
no,
So what's
definitely not.
changed then? So why is it possible now? What's this? What happened?
Um, I think, I mean, a few things. Wake up call, right?
Yep.
I've never
Yep.
been so heavy in my life, right? I felt like shit, man. I felt like shit, right? And something needed to change, like drastically, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but most people would probably go to a doctor and say, "Oh, I'm not feeling too great." And then what they would normally do is plow you with prescriptions. But deep down inside, you know that, and hopefully you know, right? This is not everyone, but hopefully you know that you need to pull your finger out and you need to basically start eating properly and start training properly,
Yeah.
right? And you'll start seeing the results very quickly, right? Now, there's a few things in this. There's peer pressure, there's family pressure, right? You know, as Gujaratis, right? That like you go to I don't know, come celebrations, come weddings, so Diwali, weddings, even if you just turn up at your in-laws' house, right? And it's a Saturday afternoon, and you know there's bhajiyas being made in the kitchen, and you know there's whatever, right? You know that you're going to get fed to the nines, and to that point where you're not controlling the situation, right? Now that was becoming too frequent, right? And it's yeah, man, let's just meet up and we'll go for a quick mixed grill, right? And let's go for a curry with the boys, right? Fine, let's do that. You're 4 or 5 drinks down, right? You've had X amount of stuff and blah blah blah. Next thing you know, and what I did was I started calculating those calories. And what you could do 3,000, 3,500 calories in just that one sitting. That's mad,
Yeah.
right? That's illogical because when you're 18, 16, 17, 18 years old, when you're living at home, for example, and your parents' home, you're not eating like that. You're not drinking like that. You're not behaving like that because you're living in their home,
Yeah.
right?
It's like freedom, isn't it?
It's that freedom, it's everything. It's
Yeah.
people around you, it's your environment. Now it's down to you to change that environment. It's no one else. No one else can do that apart from you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people need a little bit of a wake up call. Like that desire to change was so strong within you that whatever temptation is thrown your way, it just doesn't, you're going to win that battle every single time because you wanting to change is much stronger than that extra bit of cake or that extra drink or,
Yeah.
staying later and, waking up later or the food on the way home, right? Like your desire to want to get to whatever goal that it is that you have somewhere sort of scratched in your mind. I think at the moment what happens is, and even with the most successful people that we have that just we'll work with some people that are just like yourself, like you're tunnel vision, you know what you want, and every day you're just ticking the boxes. Other people, they know what they want, but there's slip-ups that happen, which is fine. It's natural. The main difference between people like you and the people who constantly see slip-ups is the fact that you somewhere in your mind, and you haven't articulated it to me, we haven't had a conversation about this, but I know that you have some sort of vision of where you want to be, what you want to look like, how you want to be behaving, what you want to wear. Like you almost you can almost taste it. You're so close to it, it's within reach. You know exactly what that looks like. You know exactly what that future looks like. It's so close. And that's the reason that you're able to execute. That it must be something along those lines. Am I right or am I off?
100%. Now, we had this conversation where I'm sending you pictures of me throwing wardrobe out, literal wardrobes, right? And when you start doing that, and when you start putting, like, I've had to change my like jean size twice since we started, right? Like stuff that I'm wearing that I was wearing, I can't wear that what I was wearing 4 months ago, 5 months ago, right? It won't fit. It's just hanging off, right? And it actually looks wrong. It looks really baggy, right? Now, some of that stuff was like XL size. When you're doing that and you're getting into a t-shirt and you're getting into like medium size shorts and medium size whatever, you're like, oh shit, this feels good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right? And then, when you sort of look at it and you go, oh, okay, cool. And I think a lot of the time it's when someone says to you, damn, you've lost weight, right?
It feels good,
And
man.
again, like I mentioned earlier, when you and your partner are aligned on the same thing, and this is important as well, and people can take this either way, right? It's down to your partner, if you have one, to stick it on you as well and say that you need to fix up because
Yeah.
she did, right? She stuck it on me. She turned around, she goes, you need to lose some weight, man,
Yeah.
right? And you could take that either way. Like you could turn around and be like, are you calling me fat? Like, are you
Yeah.
serious right now?
You could
Or
honestly take that two ways, and you taking it the right way. You could either turn around and be like, "F you, what the hell are you saying to
how
me?"
dare
And it could
you,
turn into a
right?
full-blown argument, right? It could
Yeah,
turn into,
fully.
or
Yeah,
it could be the other way around, where I'm guessing with you, it was like, "Oh shit, I'm probably not the man that she married, and I'm a far, far distant guy to what you." I mean, that's the way that you're probably going to take it, all right? And then maybe
fully,
do something about
right?
it. Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to be called any names, right?
Yeah.
Especially by their loved ones, right? But when it comes down to it, it's only those people that can stick it on you, right? Especially when you work in certain environments where people are not in a position to tell you anything, right? Or there's just that, fear of offending and so on and so forth. So when you see that change, when then as soon as those changes start happening, coming back to your question of like, how do you feel, right? It's okay, you feel great because of X, Y, and Z, right? But the initial feeling is like, oh, what have I got myself into here, man? Do you know what I mean, right? I can't stop at Greg's for lunch, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and you're sort of, I can't, right? So the initial feeling is, this is long, man,
Yeah.
right? I'm used to having, a couple of drinks on a Friday night for the average guy, right? And I'm used to going out and watching the footy and making sure that, I have a good time.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm sat here with a Coke Zero, right? And
No,
my
the
car
funny
keys,
thing is, yeah,
right?
uh,
Yeah,
first week for you back in, you're like, Nick, usually me and the team on a Friday, we have a fry up. What do you recommend I get for my fry? I was like, don't get a fry.
yeah,
Now, this
yeah,
man sends me a picture of his Friday breakfast. It is boiled eggs with a slice of toast and maybe a side of beans. That is like such a difference to getting that unhealthy fry up. I remember, like, obviously that first week, like you say, it's a very much, I can't, this is long, like I want to have a fry up, how can I do it? And now it's like, you're not even asking that. The moment I told you, like, you don't have a fry up, that's what you have to do. That's how you manage that situation. You get something
yeah,
else. And now
yeah,
it's like, you're smashing it, mate.
yeah, yeah. And you feel like this is the funny thing. When you start removing those little stupid gap fillers that you had, like, you know, for me, my weaknesses are like crisps, peanuts, savories, right? I couldn't care about sweets too much, right? But it's those savory things, and especially like nasto, like chevro, gatia, that kind of stuff, right? That man, that is my biggest weakness in life, right? And
Yeah.
especially I had to go to Kenya as well in between all of that, right? Now, you go to a place like Kenya, you're in bloody nasto heaven, right? You know, you when you cut that nonsense out, like you also make changes in life to the your shopping bill will go up a little bit, but you will see the difference in the quality of the food that you're buying, right? So you know what I'm eating, right? I'm eating grilled chicken. I make a very, very healthy chicken keema. Every week I'm eating the same thing, a portion of veg and a pita or a little bit of rice or whatever it is for the carb. and that gets me up to just that 500 calorie meal. And I don't need to eat no rubbish in between that, right? I don't need to eat after that. I don't need to eat before that. I can drink as much water as I like. I can eat as much fruit and veg as I like, and it is great, right? And that there alone just makes you feel more disciplined. It makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Again,
You
when
know
you're
what?
doing
Yeah.
that with your partner, it's the best thing.
You
Yeah,
know what? I always say to people, and I know this is going to sound really weird, but there almost has to be this little bit of a, I don't know how to articulate this, but this is like, I'm too good to eat shit mentality. Like you ha almost have like a snobbish sort of behavior
100%.
about it, like as if
100%.
like you're above
Yeah.
it. And that like
Yeah.
you have to have that sort of mentality almost like, "Ah, I'm too good to eat that, you know, like you have a snobbish mentality about it. You act like you're elite essentially. And
Fully,
yeah,
right?
you have to.
100%. You
You,
know,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I've turned into a food snob, right?
yeah,
I'm not eating that. That's rubbish, right? I'm not gonna,
yeah.
I'm not gonna, I'm sorry, but I'm not eating that, right? You can fully drive past the Mac. I've been stood in McDonald's and just not ordered anything,
Yeah,
right?
naturally, you got kids, right? Um, I want to ask you a question about like your lifestyle. Obviously, very busy. Uh, a job, part-time job that you sort of been doing as a passion and for done for many, many years. Obviously, then full-time dad. All of the stuff that then comes in between household stuff and chores and all of that rubbish, right? Time is a big thing that people will use as an excuse or an obstacle. Are you able to break that down for us now and just sort of say, like, were you
Yeah.
ever in that mindset, I don't have the time for it, versus now, like, what's your outlook on it?
So there is plenty of time in the day. Right? Let's just be clear about that. Right? And this is, I'm coming as a preacher now, but previously I wasn't. So a normal day, should I give you a breakdown of what a normal day looks like?
Yeah.
Right? Wake up earlier because you feel like you wake up earlier. So you're already doing well, right? The first thing I do personally is either go for a walk. So no breakfast. I might have a quick like black coffee, right? A small one, just knock it back. Straight out for a walk, right? Do a half an hour walk, which is around 4,000, 3,500 steps. Get home, shower up, get ready, get little man ready for school, breakfast. Obviously my wife's getting ready and so on and so forth. That morning routine starts to happen, right? It's school drop off, either office or work from home. Try and get as many steps in the day as you can, just getting up from your desk and so on and so forth. Lunchtime, lunch, walk. Daytime, again, your afternoon, try and get up and do your steps as much as you can. If I have a gym session scheduled in for that evening, it's guaranteed I'm going to the gym. I'm not missing that. I've not missed a single gym session, right? And I'm not
And would
doing
that
that.
happen after you sort of just sign out? Is that a later on in the evening type thing? Like, would that be after you
No,
spend some time with them? Or
yeah.
when would you slot that in?
So that would happen around 5 o'clock-ish.
Okay, cool. So you've done like
So
school
what?
pickups, you might have seen your son for a little bit, you go and do
Yeah.
the gym session for about an hour, and then you're back into
Yeah.
dad mode essentially.
That's it. So
Yeah.
because my son's like slightly older now,
Yeah.
he's not going to he doesn't have those sleep patterns and those weird like he sleeps like a normal human now, right? So like yeah, like so what we have is my missus would take over in that time. So she'll like either she'll sort his dinner out or I've already sorted his dinner out or whatever, and then I'll run to the gym. I'll be back by like say 6:30, right? As that in like for example in the summertime, I still got enough time to go out and play and do whatever, and then have dinner.
Yeah.
Um, do the usual life routine of tidying up and sorting the house out and blah blah blah. But the food's already prepped, right, from Sunday, so I'm not worried about that. I just got to warm it up essentially, um, and then put little man to sleep, and then chill. And that's it. That is pretty much how the day goes, as much as it can. Now, for those that work like unsociable hours, which I have done as well, right? And I don't do it as much as I used to, but I have done a lot previously. Like you just have to basically pull your finger out. I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but Like you say, for example, you have a late one the night before. Don't drink, man. Right? Don't drink. Don't
Yeah.
eat crap on the way home, right? If you need to sleep it off, like don't wake up past 8 o'clock, right? Because you're already losing your day. And now if you're playing out again in on the next day, right? Essentially what you've done is you've already lost most of your day through sort of so-called recovery, right? And then you're out again doing exactly the same thing, and then you're back to square one again. And I've been there, so I can talk about it. Like you need to just essentially just pack it all in, right? And just go, right, I'm gonna be as clean cut as I can today, which I have done. I can do it now. Wake up at a reasonable time tomorrow, get up and go for a walk, right? Eat a balanced meal in the morning, right? Because regardless what happens when your body's tired, even if you've not drunk or not eaten rubbish the night before, there's still gonna be that thing in your head that, oh man, I feel rough, man. I need
Yeah.
to sleep, right? Like you can get over that very quickly,
Yeah.
right? So, that's what good looks like, right? On a day. Now previous to that, it was the complete opposite, right? Just wake up with no goal in mind, go and have a fry up, KFC for lunch, whatever, 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 right? There was no discipline in that space, right? Um, Complete opposite now. So that's essentially what a day would look like. And then the days that I don't have a gym session, I'll go for a walk in the morning, go for a walk in the afternoon, go for a walk in the evening, right? I can average around 20 to 22,000 steps a day, roughly, which is, it works for me because I like walking, right? Put my headphones on and go for a walk and find those things that keep your triggers up, basically. So yeah.
Excellent, man. Excellent. The day in the life so so different now.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of investing in yourself, was that a tough decision? Have you ever made an investment into yourself like this before? Was there a fear of would it work or a fear of am I wasting my money or anything like that? Or talk to me about that side of things. And for anyone else that's sort of thinking, may have seen something like this and thought, whoa, can I really go ahead and put a sum of money behind myself? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And what were your thoughts on that personally?
Yeah. So you got to calculate in your head what it what your health really is worth to you, right? Your mind frame, your general lifestyle, what is it worth to you really, right? Like coming from a like if we were to talk about it, we are Gujaratis, right? We're Gujaratis, we live in the UK, right? Let's face the facts for what they really are. You come from a mindset of a generation that says you need to eat certain things and do certain things, and therefore this will happen. But it doesn't work. And unfortunately, they weren't educated in these situations, and that you can't blame them for that. That's what they know. Now, what we've done is, as a society, we've taken that or that general. Most parents would have two rotis, a little bit of shak, and some dal bhat, and that's it for them. We've taken that, and we're eating out in the best places. We're going to really expensive places because we can afford to. Our parents' generations couldn't afford to do that. But we don't understand the impact it's having on our health. Now, calculate that cost of the amount of money you're spending, the time that you're spending in these places, um, and even the money that you're spending on the junk food coming into the house, right? And all of that, and what the cost actually is of you doing this is a fraction of it. Doing this with you is a fraction of that cost, right? And now you got to look at it like this, right? What is the long-term cost? And I'm not talking about monetary here. I'm talking about the type 2 diabetes that's a guaranteed tick box for us as Gujaratis, right? Um, the heart issues, the this, the that. You got we're us as a generation, we're having kids a lot later than our parents were, right? We're already reducing the time. When you look at it, when you think about it logically, right? As a generation, we can't buy that time back. There's no money that can buy time. So when you put that into context, you've got less time to see your kids grow up. And this is the reality behind it. But you can buy back some of that time by fixing up, right? So whatever it is, right? You know, pay it because it's worth more than what you think it really is, right? You know, when they say something is worth its weight in gold, right? You have absolutely no idea, right? And also what you have to remember is there's no monetary value on how you feel personally, how people around you feel about you, right? The way you react to the situations around you, right? And if I could have kicked myself in the ass maybe 6, 7 years ago to do this,
Yeah,
right? Or even 10 years ago to do this, I would have done it. But and what's important here is that my relationship with you, okay, with this, because it spans back so far, it makes sense. The model that you are trying to put forward as your main primary model is that we want to elevate people's lives. We want to make people's situation better, right? You don't want to come out looking like, sort of crazy wham and you got, sort of just madness going on, right? You're essentially what you're doing is you're improving people's lifestyle situation. That is a very, very hard thing to do for someone that could have the best career in the world and not be looking after themselves. I think that again is priceless in any
100%.
respect, right?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that you say that, man, and that you put the two and two together and connected the dots there with the value of the stuff that you spend doing, but also the non-monetary stuff, right? Like not being snappy, being ni a nice person to be around. These are often things that we don't realize, and then you suddenly think and go, "Oh my God, I would have reacted very different in this situation 6, 7 months ago." So,
100%.
yeah, really, really good,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I wanna dive into the final few questions or couple of questions anyway. What would be like a tip or a piece of advice, just one golden piece of advice that you would give to someone who was you 6, 7 months ago, 110 kilos? Like, what would you say to that guy that's like, man, I want to lose some weight. Like, how do I go about this? What's the golden tip that you'd give that person?
Um, I would say get get your, you know, I'm trying to think of the right thing to say here, right? And be clear in what I'm saying. If I was to go back 6 months and give someone, you mean like what would I say to that person, right? So
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah. As in,
advice?
like you right now, Krish that is here right now, what would he say to someone in your position? Like, that 110 kilo guy, like if someone comes to you at 110 kilos and says, man, I want to get started. How do you go about this? Like, what is your biggest piece of advice, tip, or motivation would you give him to just give him that kick and get going with it?
I would say, and this might sound crazy, right? I would say go on to Chat GPT or whichever AI platform it is, right? Take a picture of yourself now, and I did this by the way, right? And then ask that AI platform to make you look how you want to actually look. Like what is your what does that look like to you, right? And it spits out an image within about 30 seconds, right? And when I tell you that like the game changer that it automatically sort of it puts that image in your head, like actually I can look like that. That's not that difficult, right? Now, the journey is everything else that changes with it, right? So I'm looking at it like this. If I was to now sit down and sort of have a chat with myself 6 months ago, right? And go, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is the advice that I would like to give, and whatever it may be. I would like to know what 6 months down the line looks like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? I would like to know what next year looks like. This time next year, I want to know what that looks like,
Yeah,
right? And once you know what good looks like, you never want to go back to bad.
100%, man. Yeah, I have this as well. And last week we were chatting, and I was like telling you about my personal experience with it. And I was like, Krish, you will never shake that inner fat guy within you, right? That inner fat boy for me is always there.
100%. Yeah,
And there's
100%.
almost a fear, not in a negative way. I use that dark energy in a positive way, but it's such a way where it's like I never want to end up back at that position. I will never let anything by any means let me get back to the position. Like, and I think the same is with you. You never want to end up back where you were before, and you will do everything in your power to make sure you don't. Even if, touch wood, God forbid, and there's an injury and you can't be in the gym for a few months, you will still make sure that you are doing something to make sure that you're not regressing, right?
100%. And it's the food, man,
Yeah,
right? Like to me, look, Nick, I want to be very clear about this, right? There's two conversations here. There's what you eat and how many times you go to the gym, right? That seems to be the narrative here, right? On what it looks like to lose weight. If you are not changing your mind frame, and if I'm sitting here not listening to you and trusting what you're saying to me, and I can just go and just go and lose my rag on a Friday night or whatever night. I'm cheating on myself here, right? It's accountability for yourself, really, at the end of the day. If someone has told you, someone has sat down and said to you, look, man, you need to fix up, right? And you're not doing anything about it. And then you just go, oh, you know what? This won't hurt. And if I just have a few more drinks, it won't hurt. And if I just eat that and it won't hurt and whatever, it's up to you, man, right? Look, I want to be clear about this, right? There's a lot of people that know how to do this, right? From a business perspective, right? You see it all day on social media platforms. You see people going, you want to lose 25 kilos, let's go, right? Message me directly. Cool. But does that person resonate with what you're trying to achieve, right? And it's not, it's your own personal goal, right? For me personally, right? You work with a certain demographic, you work with a certain mindset, you know what you're looking for, right? And they know what they should be looking for. But really and truly, if it comes down to it, and when it comes down to it, it's the individual that needs to pull that finger out.
100%. I can only lead a horse to water. I can't force it to drink.
Very simple. And
Yeah.
remember that, right? You don't buy a house and then don't main, and then not maintain it, right? Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't buy a car and then go, you know what, I'm not going to service it, it doesn't matter, right? Like life has to still be maintained to a certain degree. And I think we forget that, right? So look, man, I would, if I was to ever sort of think about anything now, it would always be, okay, cool. I've got gym tomorrow. Non-negotiable. I've got to eat this. It's non-negotiable. I get pressured. Non-negotiable. I don't care. Right? Hurt people's feelings. Right? Put people in their place. Right? The bottom line is that it's not them putting those meals down. It's not those people. You can come home from a long day or you've been working from home, meetings, blah, blah, blah. You going into the gym is actually benefiting that day by you just going bang, right? Just broken that glass and you've moved that screen out of the way, right? Like I think that's what people don't realize is you guys are creating habits for future. Not this isn't a one-off. Well, I'm sure at some point we'll have a maintenance talk.
100%, man. 100%.
Right? So yeah, I would look, man, Nick. I'm Team Nick, Team Affinity all day long. You know that, right? I'm gonna sing your praises because I think you guys are outstanding at what you do.
What would you say, final one, to anybody listening to this? So, often I get people sign up off the back of sort of listening to a bunch of our interviews just because they give great insights. They've reached out to me and they say, "Hey, man, I just listened to that interview with Krish. It was like, I could see myself in him and things like that." So, what would you say to anyone that's on the fence about joining us in particular? Well, what's the message that you'd give to them?
I would say that look at your lifestyle, right? Personal experience, look at your lifestyle. And if you are contemplating on going, oh, I don't know, is it worth it, right? I would turn around and say to you that you need to really evaluate what's important to you in your life. It's a very simple equation. Now, to me, this is important to me, right? Unbelievably important. In fact, I have never felt better in my life. I've never felt more energized. I feel better now than I did when I was 21 years old, right? And that's because of affinity. That's because of Nick, right? I've got someone that it's almost like having a guardian angel around you all the time, right? That's telling you, actually, you don't need to do that. And what it does is subconsciously, it puts you in a position being in this space, especially when you're working with someone like Nick, who, by the way, is on hand all the time if you ever need his advice, right? Um, to go, well done, you smashed it. Not a lot of people tell you that in this day and age, right? That's number one. Number two is you need to fix up, bro, which again, no one is really going to tell you. Society doesn't allow that anymore. And when you get to a certain point in life, no one is congratulating you, no one is putting you in your place. I mentioned that earlier and I'm saying it now. You need someone, right? If you're in a certain space, whether it's up here, whether it's physical, whether it's both, right? Whether you can't keep tabs on yourself when it comes to eating and drinking or even just general lifestyle, right? You're talking about an entire change of format. You're reformatting your life. You're not just saying, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and get wham, right? That's not that's not what this is about, right? Understand that point. Get onto the right side of the fence, right? And get onto it because like in 6 months' time, I guarantee you, right? On paper, I guarantee you that you will feel 100 times better, a million times better, right? And don't compromise on stuff like that because there's not a lot of things in this world that make you feel better about yourself, apart from, you making the right changes. So yeah, that's the takeaway from this.
100%, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Mhm.
To anyone that was listening to that, really, really appreciate you listening to it. Please give us your feedback and comments and things like that. And yeah, Krish, man, always a pleasure to chat with you.
Always.
Thank you for all of the insights into your journey so far. It's been great to see 25 kilos down and counting, should I say.